Hello and welcome back to Hot Topics. It's game week 11 and Antonio Conte has signed for Spurs. So what does that mean for Harry Kane and Human Son? With me to discuss it all is Wes Prickett. Wes, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Last week, you remember my boiler wasn't working too well, Wes. So I am warm now and we can even get even warmer, even hotter by talking
Lovely.
about these hot topics. So let's dive in because it's a big one. It's massive news. Antonio Conte signing
Yeah.
for Tottenham and what that could mean for Spurs assets in general. So first things first, then, Wes. Harry Kane and Son, are you going to jump on them straight away? Are they getting in your team for game week 11?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a perfect storm, isn't it? Conte coming in, who should obviously improve them, we'd think. How quickly he can improve them is obviously a big talking point. Will there be a new manager bounce? Is that a legit thing? I'm not too
Hmm.
sure. Conte will improve them in the long term, I'm certain of that, but right away, I'm not sure. However, the fixtures, just bringing them up now so I don't get any wrong. It's Everton away who were leaking goals.
Hmm.
It's then Leeds at home, Burnley away, Brentford home, Norwich home. So the next, including this one coming up, it's a really good
Mm.
fixture run. Um, and it goes on for a long while. So the fixtures are good. Conte coming in, perfect storm. I think it depends on your setup of your team whether you dive straight into them. I probably won't be bringing in any midfielder or striker into my team this
Okay.
week, and that's the only reason why I'm not going there. But say if for my setup, for example, let's say Vardy pulls up in training this week and is out for a few weeks, then yeah, I might look at Kane, or likewise with if Salah gets injured, I might look at Son or whatever. Um, but yeah, for me, I'll probably give them this one game, see how they get on at Everton. The early adopters might get it right and be banging the points
Hmm.
straight away, and happy days for them. But yeah, it's just for my setup, it doesn't really work. But yeah, I'm not against. I wouldn't talk anyone out of going for those guys straight away because if it is going to be a 3-5-2 under Conte like you normally plays, and Son and Kane are going to play up front as strikers,
Yeah.
then that's obviously really beneficial for Son, who's down as
Yep.
midfielder. Son's done well so far this season. Without setting the world light, he's still right up there in terms of one of the top point scorers. So if he can go from a very good level to the next level and sort of match someone like Salah for cheaper, then he's going to be awesome. And Kane, as we know, has had a really quiet start, but you've got to think he's got to improve. A, at some point anyway, and B, now Conte's there, he's not going to accept any nonsense. So yeah,
Well, I think it would be wise not to necessarily double up in these two this season. We saw last year a lot of managers did it under Mourinho, and it worked a treat at the
yeah,
start of the season. But this year, whereas Harry Kane has only scored one goal in nine apps,
mm,
he's got an assist too. But
yeah,
his touch map as well. He's been largely on the left side of midfield, and he's not in the box. That's a massive
yeah,
problem. But Antonio Conte speaking in the Euro 2020, he said if he was coaching Harry Kane, he'd put him in the box. So
yeah.
would that make Kane more of an attractive asset than Son? Or even though that Son's had such a better start to the season than Kane, because we know what Kane's potentials
Yeah,
are, he can be the best forward in the
yeah,
world when he wants to be.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Which one's better? Because if you are just thinking of going for one of them and you want to know which one is going to be the better option, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Son's got the form from this season. He's in a better place. He wasn't obviously he had the Son didn't have the Man City thing that Kane's had. Blah blah blah. Um, and yeah, back to what you said about the sort of touch map for Kane. If you compare his shot map and his touch
Hmm.
map compared to other strikers in the league who have done well, but obviously who are a lot cheaper than Kane, it's miles apart. Someone like Michael Antonio
Yeah.
is getting a lot of shots around the box, whereas Kane's just sort of his shot map looks really awful. Um, but yeah, Conte, it's really hard to say at the minute, isn't he? Isn't it? You've got the money difference in that you can save for Son as well. You've
Hmm.
got the extra point for a goal, the extra point for a clean sheet
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Son. So it's always that sort of midfielder versus forward debate. So yeah, at the minute I'll say Son just because I don't necessarily think Harry Kane can flip a switch and just be like just because Conte is now there, can Kane flip a switch and then turn back on the world class form? Does it work as easy as that? I'm not convinced. So yeah, I want to see Kane change their mind. I think after the Newcastle game, some people thought Kane was maybe back, but I wasn't
No,
convinced.
Newcastle looked
Obviously,
terrible, whereas as a starter.
yeah. And it was a nice. He scored a really nice goal and created a really nice assist. But even in that game, it wasn't like the Kane of old where he looked really hungry, looked like he was going to score any second. I just didn't get that vibe from him. So yeah, I don't think I want to be taking a gamble on a player priced at the premium price level that Kane is, when funds could be spent better elsewhere. Maybe I'm being a bit safe or a bit cautious, but you are taking that leap of faith that Conte signed and he's going to explode straight away. If we're talking about like an 8 million asset or something like that, then yeah, take that gamble. But I don't want to be gambling on Kane when this cheaper striker's doing well.
Well, we talked about it last week, was in our previous video when we were analysing all the different budget forwards available who are hitting form at the minute. It doesn't seem too wise at all to go for one of the most premium forwards on the game who's not scoring goals just to bring him in because they've got that new manager. You don't know yet. It's probably best to wait and see, and it's more safer if you're going to go for a Spurs asset with those really good fixtures coming up. That human Son's the better pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said just there, and I think we've kept what I would say is some players would take a longer time to change my mind on them. Whereas because we know Kane's got previous of being obviously an amazing striker for years and years. So as soon as even just one game, if he plays really well against Everton, my mind will be changed like that. Right, Kane's back in my thoughts. Yeah. So Kane can easily change my mind compared to other players.
Yeah, so be on your toes, keep watching out, because when Harry Kane hits back in form again, you want to be on that train, don't you?
Yeah, and just one last point on Spurs. I know it's a kind of Son versus Kane debate, or the both of them.
Yeah, what about the whole assets?
Yeah, I was just going to say the wing back roles could become a good source of points. Someone like Reguilon, butchering the pronunciation there, but he is a decent price. Again, it's a wait and see job for me. See how they line up against Everton. See the positions. See who's getting further forward and stuff like that. Because you don't want to commit to an asset and then you realise they're the one that's actually not in Conte's thoughts. Yeah. Maybe Conte doesn't rate Reguilon. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he wants to play him left centre back. Who knows? So wait and see. And if he's playing left wing back in that Everton game and he's getting forward, he's looking good, and defensively, and if they're looking defensively more sound in that game, then you can take that gamble on him ahead of that nice fixture run.
Yeah, absolutely, Wes. Well, moving on from Conte's new team to Antonio Conte's old team, Chelsea.
Yeah.
At the back, Wes, they're looking pretty good, aren't they? And their defensive assets as well are also chipping in with goals and assists. Here's a stat for you, Wes. 12 goals so far have been scored for Chelsea, have been scored by Chelsea defenders. So Reece James is their top scorer with 4. Ben Chilwell, who's only played 4 games this season, comes in with 3. Chalobah's got 2. Marcus Alonso's got 1. Thiago Silva's got 1. Rudiger has got 1. That's not even talking about assists, where we can talk about the likes of Cesar Azpilicueta. So looking at those Chelsea defenders, are there any Chelsea defenders you'd recommend the most, and would you double up on any?
Yes, it's nuts, the sort of stats you were just saying and how many goals come from their defenders. Obviously, with their wing-backs, they do get so high, so that's to be expected a little bit. And I guess, those big centre-backs from corners can always chip in as well. So, and I think, and again, it's going off on a little bit of a tangent, but when I had Lukaku in my team, a lot of us did a few weeks ago before he got injured, there were stats then started to come out about how the number 9 position, the centre-forward position for Chelsea under Tuchel, wasn't the source of goals in that team, which was a kind of surprising stat. And it made me sit and think, is that kind of a decoy? Not a full decoy, because they still do get some points to get involved, but are they getting marked? Then the wing-backs are getting the easier chances, that sort of thing, and maybe the midfielders. But yeah, in terms of their assets right now, they obviously haven't got a forward you can pick in the game because Lukaku and Werner are both injured. Then onto the midfielders, you've got Mount, who I'm not sure what's going on there with his. Again, if you're interested in Mount, check out his current injury predicament. Havertz is flattering to deceive, and again, he's playing that number 9 position, and that's the position against Norwich. It was 7-0. He didn't get a single attack in return. He won the penalty, didn't he, against Newcastle, grabbed an assist, so not bad, but again, not setting the world light. So yeah, their defence is just looking amazing. Clean sheets are coming in thick and fast. Chilwell and Reece James are both really attacking. I went for Rudiger in my team a few weeks ago, thinking I'd be getting the more nailed on asset. There was at the time when I got my Chelsea asset, it was kind of like, are Chilwell and Alonso going to share game time? Are Reece James and Azpilicueta going to share game time? And I think that worry is still there. But the good thing about Chilwell is he hasn't come off the bench in a Premier League game under Tuchel, whereas Reece James has come off the bench about 9 or 10 times, I think it is.
Also, Wes, if we're talking about game week 11 in particular, we saw in the Champions League this week, Reece James and Ben Chilwell didn't start the Champions League game.
Yeah.
So you'd like to assume that they'd be playing this match.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rudiger is the most nailed on out of all the Chelsea defenders so far this season. He's played in 90 minutes in all but one match so far. In that one match, they did get a clean sheet against Brentford, but they were getting peppered, weren't they?
They were.
They missed Rudiger. So I can't see him leaving that team anytime soon. And Reece James, Wes, I mean, he's the top scoring FPL defender so far, and he's only played 90 minutes on 3 occasions. That's nuts. So surely, if he's going to be playing now, and you'd like to assume he'd be playing as more games than not, should Reece James be the first Chelsea defender on your mind to get in your team, or is Ben Chilwell or Rudiger putting a stop to that?
Well, I think for me, let's say if I wasn't a wild card and could pick any Chelsea defender or any two, for example, I think I would be drawn straight away to Chilwell because of that whole that dynamic of coming off the bench. So let's say you've got Chilwell playing every week and you've got your first sub, say Livramento. Livramento can then come into your team and, you know, he's a really good bench option, or someone else, but Livramento is just an example. And Chilwell and the Tuchel has never come off the bench in a Premier League game, whereas Reece James has come off the bench, I think it's around 10 times, like I said earlier. So therefore that puts that doubt into the mind of, you know, you're not getting those points from your first sub, you're getting a Reece James 1-pointer on games he doesn't play. That's not to say Reece James is an amazing asset, let me put that out there. I'd love him in my team, he does do well, but out of the two, it just seems to me that if they've both got attacking threat, they're a similar-ish price. I know Chilwell's slightly more expensive, but their attacking threat is similar. So I'd rather have the guy who never comes off the bench, which is why I'd probably favour Chilwell.
Well, just from personal experience, whereas I've had Reece James in my team for most of the season, and one of the problems I've found is I've had weeks where there's a bit of an injury crisis at the back for many FPL managers, including myself, where I'd have Brandon Williams come on for me and be getting minus points or whatever, and that was as a result of the likes of Reece James not playing matches. In hindsight, I might have preferred to have someone like Rudiger there from the off. However, I've reaped those rewards. Last week with James getting 21 points was massive for me. So it's all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's ripped up the rule book in terms of, you know, I like to go for nailed assets in FPL, and 9 times out of 10 that is the way to play. But yeah, Reece James and Chilwell have both outscored so many defenders now, and they've both missed like over half the games this season. It's nuts. So yeah, and it is one of those where I think you've got to kind of judge those guys a bit like when you get a Man City asset, for example. You do expect a little bit of rotation, don't you? I know people are fancying players like Gabriel Jesus at the minute. There was a bit of Mahrez talk earlier on in the season. Players like, I know Cancelo's played 90 minutes so far this season every game, but certain Man City assets you kind of expect with Pep a bit of rotation. But what you've got to get into the mindset of, let's say you were looking to bring in a defender this week and it is Reece James and you decide Reece James, good choice. Okay. What you've got to anticipate or be able to stomach is the first week you have him, maybe he gets benched. Like, it's a hypothetical because this week he should start after being rested, right? But let's say 1 week out of this next 6, he is rested and comes on for 10 minutes, and you get really annoyed. And you think, right, Reece James has got to go. He's got to be 10 minutes off the bench. He's blocked some bench points coming in for me. My mini league rivals have got Chilwell and Rudiger who have swept up, and I'm really annoyed that I'm stuck with Reece James. However, what you've got to see is, okay, that was his one benching out of the next 6, and he's probably going to play the next 5 or 6 games. So you've got to then stick by him like you did. Yeah. You were frustrated some weeks, but now you're reaping the rewards, and overall, your total amount of points is better than someone like mine for Rudiger because I've been picking up 6 points most weeks. Yeah. Whereas you've got the 21s or the 1-pointers or whatever. So, if you do go for someone like a Reece James or a Chilwell, have a good bench playing option and just be able to stomach when they do get rested/rotated and know that they are going to still play the majority of games and stick it out for the longer term because it will pay dividends. Yeah,
that's why I think it's also, you mentioned before, it's essential was to have those backup defenders like a Livramento who are going to play, who's in a decent team at the minute and can get returns some weeks. Having that strong bench, my error was having the likes of Brandon Williams who ended up not playing a lot of matches and has got some minuses some weeks as well. So it's about having that bench in case those players don't play it, and then hopefully you can reap those rewards the other weeks and then have a backup those weeks where it doesn't quite work out.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes, have we discussed this week's hot topics? Are we wrapping this up?
I think so. I could go. You know me. I like to keep talking on, but we could go on forever. But yeah, let's make this a nice, short, snappy video and not ramble on too much.
Absolutely. And again, Wes, if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and again,
Oh
we're
yeah.
open to ideas. If you want us to discuss certain topics that you're struggling with one game week, or wanting a little bit more of some more eyes on your situation, tell us in the comments what you'd like us to talk about, and I'm sure we'll do that. So, yeah, thank you for joining us for another week of Hot Topics. I've been Ethan James. That's been Wes Prickett, and we'll see you next time.